right, let's see here. What up, traders? What up, investors? Ken here from Dyslexic Investor. I know it's been quite some time. I am back. Vacation's done. Let's get to work. Let's look at some stock. Let's look at some futures, and let's have some fun this week looking at the overall market. So first and foremost, thank you everyone who's joined already. It looks like a couple people have already put into the chat box. I am actually going to ping a quick link here on basically the earnings calendar for this week from Earnings Whisper. Just kind of rolling off the top, we have AutoNation, Tractor Supply, we have a lot of airlines, we have United, we have, I believe, Southwest coming out this week as well. We have some pretty Netflix is one of the larger tech companies, along with Intel and Snap. And, of course, Texas Instruments as well is also a big one there. We have here from a lot of the transports as well. We have from CSX. What else did I see on there? DR Horton, we can kind of do that. We got a couple more banks coming in there with Ally, that bank. Coca-Cola, of course, is big consumer products there. Crocs, which is always one that I always like to watch. That actually, if you don't know the story, I've actually accidentally have purchased Crocs stocks on accident. But anywho, let's kind of go into the fun game of everything. It's been kind of a choppy market as of right now. The story is, if you're looking at the technical side, in the short term, it's basically chopped to potentially down. Like we'll dive into the stock here more, especially looking at the S&P 500. Of course, you see with the futures right now, within the S&P 500, it's down 0.5%. We have the NASDAQ down just about a 1/3%, and then we have the RUT down even substantially more at basically 0.64%. So that's about 13 points there in that particular index. And of course, we have the VIX spiking up here a little bit. Bitcoin still kind of stuck in this below 35,000, 35,000 range. Has not been able to really get above that. Kind of been trending lower here as well. Potentially could get a little uptick here. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen there? That's of course very much tied to a lot of stuff. Of course, most folks should know about the China cracking down on mining, and the GP market's been flooded on a lot of 3600s and sort of the 3060s and like 3080s, 3070s. Did they make a 3070? Maybe it's a 3070 Ti. I just saw that came out. But anyways, that's really a fun story to follow that as well. Overall, it's been right? Like, we're looking here at the NASDAQ. Let's just zoom in here a little bit. I'm sorry, the S&P 500. What I'm really looking for, what I mean by like what Robin, Blue, what's up? Thank you guys for joining. Appreciate it, guys. And if you haven't already, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up. If you're enjoying the content so far, I haven't done much here. But looking here at the S&P 500, we're looking potentially to touch the 34 EMA here. So the 34 EMA is this little orange line here. As you can see here, coming into last week, we made all-time highs, but then kind of gave it up pretty fast. We had options expirations on Friday, then kind of continued like a downward slope. You never really want to end a Friday kind of like selling off in a sense. Like if we kind of go into a more in-depth chart here, you can really see that kind of come through here into Friday. So Friday was basically was not able to get any kind of traction, anything. It was just in the afternoon, it looked okay, but the last like 30 minutes, it just kind of gave it all up, and it just continued to fall and fall and fall. That's not a good look to have when you're trying to play in the short term. Okay? I'm really just highlighting this is the short term. I'm not talking about long term right now. This is very short term. We're talking like a week to 2 weeks, kind of what we're looking at, chop to downward movement. So if you're thinking about like, Ken, I don't give a rat's ass about the short term. Give me some more longer term stuff. So what we can do there, let me just add in actually the exponential. We're actually going to add in the 55 course, we may have to make that white, or where's the white? There it is, white. Boom, apply. So the 21 to 34 is usually what potentially we could see it come down to. Of course, it's kind of like at the 21 most likely already. If we zoom into this chart here, this is the 21 EMA, which is the yellow line. We're heading there. But we're looking to potentially breaking through that if we get any kind of continuous selling coming into tomorrow. So let's just make it a little bit more simple, and we're going to look at the ticker, the ETF SPY. So looking for this one to potentially look at around that $427 to potentially kind of maybe get a short-term bottom in place. We'll see. Again, I can't predict. We just have to react on what the market gods kind of give us here. I'm seeing on what really goes on. Looking at this particular the trade for this week, so we can kind of look on what the options market is expecting for the week here. So we're looking at least a move of $7.50 plus or minus. So that's a pretty drastic move, and of course that the $27 range. 427 is within that range. So this is definitely something that could be met. Of course, being more to the upside, we can definitely see it go higher and get back above the 8 EMA, which is the pink line here. Again, looking here strictly on the daily chart here. So looking for some initial support here around that 427 if we do see it come down to that range. And if we do see some substantial selling and actually not seeing any floor support at that 34 EMA and just seeing a continuously very large red candles, that 55 EMA is going to be coming into place. So that's going to be around that 420 to 422 range if we do see some more selling coming in. And if we kind of just zoom out here a little bit on the yearly year-to-date or the daily chart for the past year, you see that the 34 to 55 has been pretty significant support. So this is something that potentially could easily come down in between those bands. What I mean by a little bit more extreme, so if it starts breaking below the 34 EMA, that's when like your normal like people who don't really pay too much to the market, but they kind of do, that's when they start getting lit up. Once it starts breaking below the 55 EMA pretty fast, then people that are somewhat just watch the tickers on whatever, just on their iPhone app or whatever, that are not very like in tune to the market and watching the day-to-day movement. They're just seeing the particular news articles coming out saying, hey, the NASDAQ has dropped 10% in the last week and a half, or whatever the headlines could be, because as of right now, the S&P 500 from the swing high, swing high, the lines right here. Swing high to the 55 EMA would be around a 3.6%. So that's somewhat normal. So I'm really looking for the S&P 500 to really kind of fall into those bands there, into those two lines. An outlandish move would be breaking below the 55 and continues going down. As you can see here, the trend has been our friend here and has been really, really been very kind to us. As of right now, if it starts breaking below that really not the last part, but when you start seeing people panicking, because a 5% move, most people will not really go cray-cray about it, and the things won't be completely chaotic. But we start breaking below this line here, we're jumping to 8 to that 10% drop, and that's when really can get some things can get really spicy, and that's when people start overreacting. You get mass selling, and that kind of just creates that snowball effect, and it just can kind of create that chaos of just people just dumping their stock just because they think the whole market is just going to continue to crash, unless if there's some reason of like, hey, all our corn and all our food supplies is going to dry out. That's definitely going to not be a fun scenario at all. But this is just something to look at. Those are just looking for those levels of support to the downside. To the upside, that $440 range is something we're going to be looking at. Wesley, what's up, my dude? What's up? Dan says, should I consider my NIO calls, 330, 52 calls, a loss cost? So just to understand that, Dan, NIO, very speculative play, right? I think you know that going into that and the way you kind of replied to that of just saying, hey, is it a lost cause? So if we want to break down I'm pulling up Tastyworks as well to this to kind of give it a little better understanding here. So we bring over Tastyworks. So again, you said the 7:30 option, so that's expiring in about 12 days. So the expected move is basically $3.85 for Tastyworks in the $52 range. So it's going to be a little bit further out here, down the call list here, and basically at an 8 delta. So just kind of doing some back of the envelope math. Usually if it has like an 8 delta, that just means it has like an 8% chance by expirations that's going to be in the money. So not sure when you bought it, but of course, I think you know at this point that the shorter term options, theta decay is insane, right? So you basically, even Tastyworks does a pretty great job. It does actually, the probability of profit is 4. The probability of making 50% is around 26%. The delta is, of course, around that $8.8 range. And, of course, theta. So theta is basically from now to 12 days from now, it's going to be losing basically $2.90. So it's basically going to just run out of money and just basically become zero. Like it's going to be becoming potentially one of these options like the 65 or 70 out here. And most likely these are being sold for covered calls that have been sold way back when and so forth. So just kind of give you a little bit of understanding on that one. Looking here on the standpoint of like, is it a lost cause? I just hope that you potentially had some like a reverse to reward or like a stop loss or just kind of like get out of not a jail free card, but have a plan of getting out of the scenario. Because as of right now, if it starts breaking below 41 ish that I have here, 41.73, it can easily continue going lower to below 40, potentially even to 37, even back down to 34. But that all really kind of depends on the overall market. Of course, we're talking about earnings seasons. That's starting off really pretty strong here. We have Tesla not this week, but the following week as well. So we're talking about a lot of different scenarios that we could be playing out. On that note as well, if we want to look more to the Fibonacci retracements to the upper side here, actually, let's go here. Oh, whoops. Oops. I want to update this. Sorry. I just saw this. This is a little lower here. Go here. There we go. And then we want to do Fibonacci this way. All right. So yeah, it kind of failed here at that $53 range, which you said you had at 52. So it kind of came down pretty hard again, but we're seeing at the overall market pretty coming down fairly, I wouldn't say hard, but like the NASDAQ, if you look at here, it's kind of coming lower here as well because we've had a pretty massive run here within a lot of the indexes and industries that has been kind of a normal pullback, not a sell-off. A pullback is like 3 to 5%. That's normal. If we start exceeding that 3 to 5%, that's going to be a little bit more drastic there. It could, Dan, right? I don't know. Like it really could. I don't know. It's a very difficult one to look at because again, yeah, they're in the same camp of competition of just trying to compete for the Chinese consumer, and both have a fairly good product. I'm hearing great things about NIO, but then of course I have to be fully disclose my position of that. Hey, I'm pretty long Tesla, so I'm going to be a Tesla winner there. Hey, John, how you doing? Hope everyone's well. Thank you, John. Kelly D, what's up, dude? Hope all is well. Family's healthy. Everything's going great. Hope we get a little bit more of a. I'm like I said at the beginning. Like we can just look at the QQQ. Kind of did the demonstration here. QQ's been a little bit more choppier than the S&P 500, but with the things on, we've run pretty well here over the last like month and a half plus. We've been holding that 8 EMA here, which is basically the equivalent of just kind of running on jet fuel and just drinking like 36-hour energy drinks, and they've been pretty pretty robust here. I'm just really seeing that continuously pushing higher here. Again, like we said, a 3 to 5% pullback in the overall industries should be doing pretty well. Looks like Kelly's thoughts on ASTR. ASTR. Yikes! What happened there? Is this a SPAC? Is this a SPAC? This looks like a SPAC to me. Huge movement coming back down, then gets the announcement of probably the SPAC becoming into the stock, and now we're seeing my hair cannot stay. Like it's so frizzy. Need to get a haircut. Anyways, yeah, this one I don't like those red candles. Like I don't want to be that guy or that person just kind of catching a falling knife here, and that's what I feel when I see these red candles. I just see blood. Like I don't want to cut my fingers off. Like these are just like here's my pinky, here's my index finger, here's my middle finger, and here's my ring finger. Just trying to cut off and just trying to find potential bottom here. As you can see here, it did kind of consolidate here before around where it currently sits, around ish that $10 range. I don't know too much of the inside here and the fundamentals here, but the chart does not look pretty. I'm sorry, Kelly. Not able to give too much of an optimistic outlook on that. John says, I didn't invest in NIO because I'm a Tesla bull. Exactly. I've traded NIO, but I haven't invested in it. Can you take a look at X? Mike's asking. Yep, that's steel, right? Yep, U.S. Steel. Again, I think most folks are read in the headlines. Everyone's talking about it. It's like a talking point when you're talking to people like, oh my gosh, did you see the price of lumber? Oh my gosh, did you see the price of steel? Oh my gosh, you see the price of building materials? Oh my gosh, you see the price of chicken wings? Like, it's just like a narrative that's constantly being repeated and just smacking to everyone's heads and being pounded into your eardrums. This has been a crazy move. Like, I think a lot of these materials and stuff like that, people are looking for the infrastructure kind of growth and just potentially maybe playing that wave. I'm not sure. I know there's the tariffs and stuff like that on the U.S. steel that is still good. Again, I don't know the full disclosure on how long those stay on that President Trump put in place. Those kind of like where it was not allowing outside countries and companies without outside the United States dumping their steel within our borders. Anyways, looking at the chart here, pretty amazing run here over the last year and a half so here, but coming down to some pretty significant support here. So as you can see, there have been very kind of choppy waves going up here, coming down to that 144 EMA here, which is that green line here. So we're potentially going to be looking for this one to kind of hold here. And we also have a Fibonacci number here at 21. So I just want to give a little bit of a better insight when we kind of zoom all the way out to a 5-year weekly chart. So this thing basically in this chart topped around the beginning of 18. And then ever since then has been pretty steeply declining lower and lower and lower and lower. Of course, since the bottom from the pandemic, it has made a pretty strong rebound here, hitting a little bit of some junkets on the way up and some speed bumps. Water, 1 second. On that sense, so we're seeing that really kind of come through here. Very choppy here. With $21, basically that price target there has been could be some significant support to the downside. As you can see, it on the way up, it took a little bit to kind of break through it, but it finally broke through. So upward resistance comes downward support. So that's basically like the technical like saying that a lot of people say. That is also potentially going to be coming down to the 34 EMA, which is lining up with that $21 price target. So we'll see on how steel comes out this week. So we go back into the daily chart. Looks like they have earnings coming out the 29th potentially, so about less than 2 weeks out from here. We'll definitely see on how this one plays out. So I don't know if you're playing as like an earnings run, but this is definitely something that we could see kind of potentially hold here around that $20 range, plus or minus like 50 cents or so, coming into earnings here. But again, you see in the last couple earnings it has spiked up here a little bit. This one has been kind of muted here as well, kind of spiking down. This one has also been somewhat muted. So yeah, a little bit of hit miss on this one. Not the most prettiest like trend here, but it's still a trend that I like to trade, potentially maybe selling some premium on this one because of some puts or some maybe do like an iron condor, depending on how the open interest and the spreads are in between. Another one that of course we can talk about is the old Tesla. So Tesla, we can't talk about. I have to talk about this one without a doubt. Tesla, of course, you know it. I love it. They have earnings coming out the 26th. So basically, it's Wednesday of next week. Oh, it's Monday. What? On a Monday? When did they do that on a Monday? That's interesting. I didn't see that one coming. Yeah. Anywho, excuse me. Since that Tesla moved to 900, we've just seen it kind of just bounce around, just kind of chop here, but it's been holding somewhat steady here around that 144 EMA here. So this is what I'm kind of really looking for to potentially kind of hold here. Of course, it did kind of sell off towards the end of the week, like somewhat the market did as well. So look, oh wow, Bitcoin's down now 1% here. Anyways, yeah, sorry, got sidetracked. So we're looking for that initial support here around that 630. We do have some pretty significant support here around $600 as well. That has been a pretty drastic number that we've seen here bounce multiple times. So I want to be a little bit more on this side here to kind of show that ongoing levels of support within Tesla here if we do see some coming down from here. Dave, what's up, my friend? Yep, SENS, we can look at that one. Still holding that one. It's been a little choppy, a little bit of rough here. Again, this thing has been a crazy momentum trade, coming down lower because it's been, I guess a lot of people have been taking risk off the table, putting cash to the sideline, whatever other saying you want to say, getting dry powder, reloading the magazine, whatever, and getting ready to redeploy depending on seeing what happens over the next couple days or weeks, depending on what your time frame is. With SNES, looks like this one has been kind of coming down here pretty steadily as well, not really seeing much of a correction yet. It's just been kind of just trending lower here as well. Initially looking for the gap fill here. If it starts breaking below that 230, 250 plus, we could easily see it potentially come back down to $2 there. Pretty had a big pop midday Friday. Yeah, I saw that. There's a pretty substantial candle there. So if we kind of bring it to the hourly chart here, you can kind of really see that pop up. Probably some news, some study or something that came out, and this kind of got pretty muted here as well. So still, I like it. I'm playing this one as well. So most of my stuff I purchased in was below 225 or something like that, or 220. I couldn't remember completely. But yeah, if it does come lower here, we're looking for like potentially some level of support around 245 to 234. Some very short-term support here that we're talking about here, and as well that $3 range has been somewhat of a slight magnet there within SENS. Again, we're kind of seeing some resistance here, of course, around that $4.44 once again there. And then XLI, of course, this is the this is what is SX? Oh, sorry, is it XLI? Oh, this is industry. Yeah. This is talking about just like taking a break here. This thing, not like the overall market that we did see was kind of going lower here. This has already touched the 55 EMA here and just kind of just chilling here, and just kind of waiting on seeing what the rest of the market does. So looking this one out a little bit longer term here, this thing has been gangbusters here going up to this range here. So this is pretty outlandish here. So this is probably very, very much due to kind of like taking a break, taking some rest here. Potentially, we'll see on how the overall market comes, because again, remember, earnings season is coming out. So I forget what some of the larger portions or what's the largest positions within XLI. I'm gonna guess probably like well, I don't want to guess. I want to guess like John Deere maybe or something like that. Oh, Union Pacific, BA, Raytheon. Oh, it's not even Deere's only 3.5%. Yeah, so it's like Honeywell, UPS, FedEx. Okay, Lockheed Martin, Union Pacific. Yeah, those kind of companies. And again, if you look at any of these stocks, you look at UPS, it's been kind of flat, just kind of chilling up here. BA has been kind of coming down pretty drastically because they just had some problems with another delivery. UNP, this is a transportation railroad track. That's come in somewhat muted. Caterpillar, same kind of thing. Kind of came from the top here, and has kind of been very muted as well going forth there. Can you take a look at Ford? Mike's asking. Of course, yes. Love me some Ford stock here. Been in this puppy for some time here. We hit that top around that $16 plus, and now it's been sadly coming down pretty harshly. Going this could, you can time whatever narrative people want to put on it to, like, hey, they can't make trucks because of chip shortage, blah 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 blah, so forth, whatever. But I think is a much more longer term play for me. So if we start breaking below 1348, which is basically some short term level support, we're kind of right there. We start breaking below that, we're going to be really looking for some support coming in around 13 to basically 1245. So that's going to be your next level of cushion if we start coming lower here again. But being mindful, we have earnings coming out the 28th, aka earnings seasons that can make a lot of stocks increase their volatility, and you see maybe some potential outlandish moves from and around that area. What's up, Makeshift? God on Fire 2 to the moon. Gold on Fire. Nintendo got it at 73rd. What was entry? What's Nintendo? What's the ticker for that? Did you just talk about Barrick Gold? I saw that's the ticker symbol gold, right? Yeah, gold. That's been a tough one to hold for a lot of people. If we just look at gold, the commodity, the futures of commodity, it's very much has kind of been very. It's like let me zoom out here. It had a pretty massive run, right? So basically from the again, this is a weekly chart for 5 years. Okay, so this is like October of 18 here, or so the summer of 18 here, and it has basically gone from 1200 to nearly 2000 in a pretty short period of time. So that's a lot of movement in a very short period of time within gold. We're talking about gold, so forth. Anyways, on that being said, here we saw that swing high to slow to swing high to swing low again, and we really kind of broke past that $1,900 range, which was the first level of resistance. Never got past that, so that's not really a good sign. And it did kind of hold and stay above that 1350, 1337, or sorry, 1750 to 1737, potentially being some kind of level of support here. And now it's potentially trying to rebound here and maybe make its push back up to 19. I don't have the best grasp on gold. I don't trade gold, but you can do like with GLD, maybe selling some premium on this sucker. Not sure how does that look over here on Tastyworks, GLD. So yeah, gold's up just basically a point here. So we look at GLD, maybe going out 30 to 60 days. A lot of open interest, that's great. The spread's really good here. The expected move is $3.38 here. That's not too bad, not too shabby here. So you potentially sell like the maybe the 62 to 61 range, kind of seeing how like looking at that premium there, nothing too fantastic to write home about, but yeah. Let's close that. That's fun stuff going there within GLD. Alan, thank you for the $5. What's up, my friend? Can we take a look at MMAT? Meta is building a position for a long-term hold. I consider it an R&D company in several sectors. Am I thinking of the MMAT? Okay, I have not heard of this one. Yeah. Let's see. What do they have on the Analyze tab here? Yeah, they don't have any ratings on here. Let's see what those stats are. Earnings per share. It's probably not going to be the best metrics to look at this one on that understanding. Formerly technology is developing and functioning materials and products. The company is engaged in designing, develop, and manufacturing functional materials. Technology platform enables brands to deliver products to their consumers and oh, it's within 5G, health and wellness, aerospace, automotive, clean energy. So they got their hands in a cookie jar and everything, Alan. Interesting. Is this from Wall Street Bets or anything? Definitely went absolutely batshit crazy there. Like those are pretty outlandish moves here. And just seeing that really spike up here at those two levels there. Looking here, it was 42 cents basically September of last year. Let me do, I bet you I can get a good read on the fibs. Oh, hold on. Draw, doop, beep. So this looks pretty good. Oh, this is the torchlight thing. Tricky. I remember this now. This is the one that people were insanely talking about the last live stream that I did before I went on vacation. I remember this now. I remember this now. So looking here on Alan, I don't know if you can see this okay. I can, if you can't, let me know and I can just send you a screenshot and message you within Discord. Basically, what we're looking here is a Fibonacci extension from the previous crazy move higher to the previous low, and then the gap hop all the way, or that move all the way to 2176. You see the spread of the Fibonacci numbers. You can kind of see not too much because that's that FOMO and just that continuously pain. And just really seeing it kind of come through here. Initially looking at this, it's pretty much drastically kind of selling off here. But again, it had a 1-to-2 split as well. That's probably when you're talking about that happened there. But it's maybe in the short term, maybe trying to bottom out here a little bit. We do have a Fibonacci here around $3.12. We can potentially kind of see that maybe hold at that level there to kind of see if we get any kind of a good understanding here, if we can kind of maybe stop the bleeding, to say the lack of better words there, and maybe seeing some more positive movement coming out of the stock, maybe another press release or some good information or whatever reason, some kind of catalyst that can kind of stop it from bleeding here. Looks like it has potential earnings coming out in August, not until August. So yeah, very speculative play. It has kind of broken past that 144 EMA, but it had this crazy parabolic move, so it kind of washes it out here a little bit. But yeah, if you're doing your own research and you got conviction on it, and you're not just throwing your whole account at it, yeah, I'm not going to say no to it if you know what you're doing. And I think you do. You have a very great understanding on risk to reward and how to play those potential odds. So again, thank you for the $5, Alan. Missed everyone. Hey, can we look at Clover? Yar. We can look at the old Clover. This one has also came back down here. Not looking like that one that Alan just talked about, but it had a huge breakout higher here on some, again, I think they were trying to talk about short interest, shorting stocks, This one is coming down pretty drastically here. You can't keep a pile of poop above your head for too long here. This is definitely kind of breaking lower here. We had some previous support around $9 to around $8.50. Was that $9 to like $8.95? Breaking past that, potentially we've seen some leveling off here, basically around that 8.20 to like maybe the $7 range. So again, really potentially playing this out. The only thing that it makes it look so drastic and so badly down is this because it had a huge move higher here. Like this thing was an insane amount of volume coming in today, so or just a couple weeks ago, and it's just been just slowly. People are just hoping and praying potentially for a bounce. They're hoping for any kind of potentially rip higher, but once the stock usually kind of comes through and fills the previous gap here. So once it's time to start breaking below like $11.88 for the second time, that kind of was like, hey, let's get out of Dodge here. And now it's going to continue to trickle here until it kind of finds some kind of level of support and some bottom potentially in place for that. John, you and I both. I bought into Barrett Gold as well but I think what happened. I know like pretty an understanding of what happened with. From my understanding was that it really wasn't ever Warren Buffett's idea to buy into gold. It was like again they're doing that transition period between him and Charlie, just getting people exposure and start taking over the fund. I've never heard of Warren Buffett ever investing in a commodity. Due diligence. What's up, my friend? Can we take a quick look at I know it's been very painful. Actually, I didn't know I got out of this until I got I always have execution orders. I got out of this on my vacation actually. Once it broke lower here, it broke below that like 10.30. I had like a get out of Dodge at like $10.47, and I didn't notice it until like a couple days ago that I didn't have any more DM because of that break lower here, and it just kind of continued to kind of trade lower here. So this is something it's going to unknown territory right now, and it's you have to kind of erase that SPAC size and that run up to $34. It's been absolutely insane here. This move here, could this go back up to $35? Maybe. I would rather just put my capital somewhere else. Luckily, I didn't lose my shirt on this one. Of course, I didn't invest my whole portfolio in it. But as of right now, this is very much trending lower here. And we're seeing here, even in the short term, it's not even able to. So what we would like to see is the 8.34, 55, and 144. But we're seeing the complete opposite right now. And it's just kind of just very much like beat up and just has not really recovered here. So it's something to really hard to hold. I have to check my long-term account. I think I might have just a little bit, but if it is anything, it's probably like $1,000 worth, so it's not too much. Hey, can you take a look at TIGR as well? Thanks. Tiger FinTech, yeah. FinTech's been kind of hot. This one has definitely been what's hot during the of 2020 into 2021. Very choppy kind of come in here. This is like if I remember right, this is like the Chinese trading app, right? Like a Robinhood. Investment in the company is a trading platform enables investors. Yeah, this is basically the Chinese Robinhood, right? This is something that very volatile, right? Very much like the FOMO. It was one that was a lot of people were trading here. Really much just kind of buying the Robinhood of China here. It's finding some support here. If we looked at previously here, if we look at, actually, let me get out my Epic pen. I always forget to get that started here to kind of basically better highlight for what I'm looking at here. So let me do that real fast for you. Go here. All right. So basically, you can see it here, here, and now we're seeing maybe some support here, which is basically, I don't know, what is that around? What is that around like that $18.50 to like $17-18 range? That's basically what we potentially are looking at for some levels of support here, and potentially seeing the understanding of if we can find it in the short term. Very much a growth stock, especially being the Robin Hood of China and so forth there. So this one has definitely been very choppy here, coming into some level of support initially. It's not going to be the most stable. I would like it even a little bit better. I don't know if I'm going to be getting into this one. This is not really my cup of tea. I don't know too much of the fundamentals about it, but that $16 range could be a little bit more stronger than we're currently sitting at on those levels of support there. I know you can't predict the future, but how do you feel about PayPal longer, 5 years plus? I'm planning on holding for 5. Yeah, John, I own PayPal for my long-term account. So no, again, I think everyone knows. Hopefully everyone knows that no one can predict the future. Okay, no one can. All right, if they say they can, they're selling you snake oil, and you need to run away ASAP. Looking here at PayPal. PayPal has been a fantastic little mover here. Of course, since recently, more adoption. It's not just tied to Bitcoin. They do a lot of other things that help in a lot of small businesses, making things a little bit more easy for transactional stuff. I love it long term. Do I want to buy it up here or add to my position? For me personally, no. I would have to add to my position well below 180 to 160, I believe, on my longer term account. But this thing has been super strong here. This is something that I'm really, I believe in. I understand the company. I understand the mission, and they're just doing great stuff. That speaking, we're hitting to that all-time high going into earnings. So if you're not familiar with earnings, again, I know you're talking about 5 to 10 years. That's a long time. So if you really have the cahoots to hold for that long, yeah, you're really not going to be. You're more or less on longer term holdings like that. You just want to build maybe like a 10 to 15% core position on it, and then just add to it on very drastic pullbacks over the next like 7 to 8 months. But it's not like something like go out tomorrow and just buy everything you have at $300, right? So just be very, very, very mindful about that. Alan says MMAT has just got to be okay for a phase 1 trial for continuous glucose monitor for diabetics. Some people don't even have to keep picking their finger to see their glucose numbers are. Yeah, the amount of people who have diabetes or have to check their sugar on a daily basis or an hourly basis or before meal or after the meal as well. There's so many devices that I'm probably not even sure I'm aware of that are doing a fantastic job. Like if they can help anyone's out, make their life just that much easier, I think that's going to be fantastic, and they deserve a nice multiple because of it. Makesha says, but you have a crystal ball, Ken. I do, but it's broken. It's in the shop. Gold on Fire Barrick was supposed to have 2 mining operations that were going to produce a vast amount of gold, but never heard anything else. Yeah, it's. I think gold or Barrick Gold is the one that Jim Cramer talks about quite a bit on the show, right? So that's the only one like a lot of people have owned, because there's other ones. There's like the one in Canada. I can't think of it right now. I'm drawing a blank. I can't think of it. On the surrounding sides of that. Yeah, Very, very, very fun stuff. So let's look. So looking at PayPal, we can look at Square. So I talked about Square a little bit via the Discord. This is kind of building nice consolidation here, potentially around that 230 to potentially that 220 range. Of course, with the market kind of been choppy here, like we just talked about, basically kind of creating a thesis, understanding the market. We're talking about in the short term, potentially looking for more chop to potentially downward movements. That's what we're currently seeing within the short-term moving averages there. That being said, with Square, of course, they have earnings coming out as well. I kind of like this one for potential trade in the short term. If it can at least stay above that 230 to even 225, I think this would be a great little trade potentially running into earnings. Again, they don't have earnings until the first week of August, so we got quite some time away. Maybe getting a little bit of a short premium on this one to kind of collect a little bit of shekels within your loop bag. Another one that I was looking at that I've talked about also within the Discord is Activision Blizzard. This one, especially with video games being somewhat of a stay-at-home play, and just the understanding of like, hey, what's going on with are people still playing these video games because they're not locked at home anymore? Like that scenario, I find that kind of funny. It's not just like, hey, you just decide to play video games for a couple months and then you just don't do it anymore. It's kind of like almost like a lifestyle. Like that's the way I look at it. But anywho, I just think they just added they just expanded their demographic, and a lot more people were able to enjoy gaming in that time frame, and especially communicate with their friends and family and things like that. So with Activision Blizzard, I'm really looking for this to kind of be a little bit longer term play. So I'm looking for if it does pull back to that $87 to $85 range, I'll be pulling the trigger a little bit more heavily, just seeing if that level of support does hold for the longer run. Yeah. John, thank you so much for the $10. Lunch on me tomorrow. I appreciate that, John. That's very kind of you. Yeah, makeshift. I can see 100 plus with an Activision Blizzard. You never know with its what's it called? Diablo's coming out. We're done with Overwatch. That's just been a wash. I don't know what the hell they're doing over there with that. They're talking about World of Warcraft revamping. They just have so much assets that are able to do well with. I just wish they would do it a little bit better. And I know there's that ongoing stuff with the CEO getting paid a little too much, which I kind of agree, which is whatever. Who cares what I think on that? But yeah. Do says, can we take a look at Uber? It's been range bound since IPO. Yeah, we can look at Uber. This was kind of a pretty strong potential recovery play. As you can see here, it got super excited around its IPO. Excuse me. And then kind of came down pretty drastically, which normally does happen after like that IPO love stage. So usually after the third or the fourth to fifth quarter is usually when you potentially could be getting into the stock at a pretty good discount at times. Due to the discount of being the pandemic, it got down to $13, right? And then now we just saw a pretty large explosion to that $64 range. And right now we're just seeing more chop. Again, we're looking here at a weekly chart. This is not a daily chart. This is a weekly chart. So this goes back since its IPO stage, which Du was talking about. Yeah, definitely all overpaid CEOs, right, John? I think I was just like a young lad when I found out on how much CEOs make. I think I was sitting, it was an oil executive that came on a show, and I was sitting in the living room with my dad, and the guy was saying he was making like $75,000 to like $50,000 a day. And my 9 to 10-year-old brain wasn't comprehending that. And I was like, he meant what? Like, that's insane. Like, I was like, Dad, he can buy a Ferrari every week. He's like, yeah, people can make that money. And I didn't end up becoming a oil tycoon, but that was something that was very intriguing, and that's kind of wrapped my head around how much money you can possibly make. If you look at Bezos, is insane, right? Anywho, so looking at Uber, we saw that previously. Actually, I want to do this a little bit. So the previous IPO high, that 56, we potentially were looking for that $70 range, never kind of came through. We're coming back down here, somewhat of a potential a second wave of the virus coming through. Sorry, Delta, so it would be like the fourth kind of like a variant of the virus. But as of right now, it's potentially holding some level of support here around $47 to $45 range here on the longer term side. If it starts breaking below that, we could easily see it break below 42, and it head down to that $39 range. So that potentially could be something to be a little bit worrisome there. Of course, we have earnings on the horizon here coming in on the 4th of August. So about 2 weeks away here. It's been a little choppy here. Again, this is really much tied to like a reopening play. More people use it, of course, the more money they make, and so forth around that. Of course, it has its ongoing issues with being contract workers or not contracted workers. So that's always something to be mindful about as well. So you have to kind of understand the fundamental story here. So is Uber Eats still being used as much as it was during the pandemic? I don't know. Like I never actually used any of the food delivery stuff because I'm a very picky person, and I like to go to the restaurant and pick up my own meal so I make sure I got everything in the box or in the container, and so forth. But yeah, Uber, I kind of like it here. I want to look at. There was something that kind of came on my radar. Was it last week? No, maybe not. This is what it was. It was the $50 call all the way out in January of 2022, which is basically $187, 187 days away. I was just kind of pretty outlandish on how much open interest was there at that contract. So that was just something I was kind of looking at. The spread's a little bit wide. I kind of maybe want to make that down to maybe 15 to 10 cents wide. But this is something I maybe potentially could be looking at here in the longer run to potentially see, depending on how. I don't know if I'm going to buy that before earnings. So if earnings does come down and I listen to the earnings call, read through it, and kind of understand what the CEO is saying, and it's just kind of the market just giving it a little bit of a unfair value. This is definitely something that I do understand the Uber business model, especially with them and just trying to really just kind of own the market, right? Because it definitely is getting to that beat up range. So we definitely could see potentially a bounce play kind of come into fruition on that stock there. Fun one without a doubt. So what's Lyft doing? Yeah, kind of doing somewhat the same thing. Not as drastically coming down here, but it's still something that has had a monster run here. Now it's kind of been kind of forgotten about, like a lot of different things, right? Like people are like, I'm not spending money on food delivery or DoorDash or whatever. Like it's just something just kind of being forgotten about. Like what's Door doing? Or no, sorry, it's Dash, right? Yeah, Dash, I'm actually surprised. Like we were short this a little bit. I think we shorted it right around like that 185, 170 range. It's been very choppy here. Now it's potentially rolling back over. So if Dash can stay above 160, that potentially could be good in the short term. But if it's breaking below that, it's going to be kind of recreating that pattern that we're seeing below that 144 EMA because it maybe doesn't have that staying power to stay above that. Another one I wanted to look at, some of the earnings that are coming out this week is Netflix. So Netflix, people always ask me what the hell I do on Netflix earnings calls. As you can see here, Netflix has been very much in like a really tight trading box, like very much so. Let me grab the pen here. I'm gonna make it a nice, beautiful. Let me make it blue. So basically, I'm horrible at drawing here. It's been in this box here, right? So it's basically been trading between that, let's call it the 560 to basically that 470 to 480 range. So literally since, what is that? The last summer, it has not really done next of anything. It's just been trading sideways. It has not gone up. It's not gone down. It's just been trading sideways. So, oops, I need to get rid of that. And clear that out. All right. So it has, yeah, has done next to nothing. This is a weekly chart. So that's what we're looking at, a bit of a longer term time frame here. The stock has been seeing a lot of crazy movements. But the thing is this stock is like a very, like a stair step kind of a stock. Like it has like this huge run, then build sideways, potentially run, trade sideways. Like they're kind of stabilizing on user growth and just the active users. It's just going to be, they got to that point where that the law of large numbers of like, there's only so many humans in this world that have broadband internet and that actually are interested on purchasing your services. That is something that I'm like understanding on Netflix. Like again, of course, what really drives Netflix, from my understanding, is just content. So on that, looking at how can we get your custom watch list? Thanks. Which custom watch lists, Mike? What custom watch list? Some of them are proprietary that I actually paid for. I can share my main one these are just stocks that I kind of look at, but I don't know if that means any meaning to you. Like you just want the stocks? Is that what you're saying? What happened to Grub? Wasn't Grub bought, right? Yeah, Grub was bought, right? Or it got delisted here. I thought they were bought, right? Yikes. Not fun, right? There was a point where Grub went pretty parabolic, right? Like there was a really hot second where it went pretty hot. It was, yeah, this is right before it got announced. Like I forgot what the cost was. It had a pretty significant run for a little bit. It had to bounce higher because I think some company was trying to overpay for it, right? What was another one that I was trying to? Oh, Snow. So Snow was another one that that I've been kind of keeping an eye on. I know this has been an IPO that a lot of people have talked about. So we kind of just zoom out. It doesn't have too much data to look at. So this is the weekly chart, but again, it just came public in October of last year. Of course, it hit in just one day, got up to like 320, and it's been very drastically going up again. Its first earnings went skyrocketed, and ever since then it's been going down to chop, right? And hasn't really seen much of anything. It's kind of coming into that window where you have it kind of forgotten, so it's not on a lot of people's radar. It's coming into that window of like it's potentially have washed out all those weak hands, and then it's also potentially just kind of cleared the board on just like getting rid of things of folks that are shouldn't have been in it in the first place and who are just trading it because they heard everyone on the news or YouTube or CNBC saying on how great this company was and actually didn't know anything much about it. It's kind of like a data analytic company that kind of helps organize data for folks, large companies, to kind of make it more readable and usable. On the same note, I'm surprised no one has asked in the chat yet, is PLTR your red and green boxes on the right of your main watch list? Oh, the squeeze. I don't know if I'm able to share that because that wasn't something I developed. That was some. I have to get back to you that on mic. I have to double check. I don't know if I'm able to share that. Maybe I am. I think maybe I think I can. I think I can. So this is the main watch list. Is basically the wave. No, I know I can't share the wave part, but the squeeze, the weekly, and so forth, those are shareable. I should do like a live stream on just kind of doing more just do like a technical charting class again. I need to do those like every couple months to kind of get new people acclimated to that and what I do. Um, yeah, let me see what I can do on that one, Mike. Are you in the Discord, Mike? I might just share it to the Discord folks. Anyways, PLTR, same kind of thing. It's getting to that range where I think a lot of people are kind of not just forgetting about it, but it's kind of off a lot of people's radars who weren't originally talking about it, who actually didn't have any money or who actually didn't have money behind it. So it was a huge move that we saw, of course, with Cathie Wood. We had the huge move with the short interest, blah, 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 blah. It kind of hit its rounds around the media because the CEO is kind of strange and weird. It's got Peter Thiel's tied to it. Peter Thiel sold a lot of his shares, blah, 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 blah. So it's been very choppy here, stock here. So we start zooming into the daily chart here. Very much is range bound, right? Like it hasn't really done much. It hasn't really gone anywhere since its crazy parabolic moves of earlier this year to late last year. Kind of potentially coming into some level of support here around that $21 range. Of course, we saw it kind of sink lower here all the way below 18, which was a great buying opportunity, got honest opinion. But initially speaking here, I think that we potentially could see some significant more chop. I think we can easily potentially even go back to 18 potentially, just seeing how people's personalities are, and just seeing if the overall the market can kind of hold this up. Because again, if the overall market, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ comes off or goes lower here or goes into chop or even more of a negative downward movement, this is something you have to be very careful about, because that can just take the whole tide. It's going to take all the boats lower, AK, that we can looking at here. JJ says accumulation zone. Yeah. Catch it. Hey Ken, glad to see you're back. I thought you gave up on YouTube. You didn't only do YouTube. I know you are the only YouTuber I know of who isn't pumping something on their own interest. Thanks for keeping it real. No, thank you. Hey, I look at myself as the Bob Ross of charting in stocks. Like I'm just here to have fun. Mistakes are happy. Let them happen. Go with the flow. You live and you learn. I'm not here to try to take your money. I'm not here for you to waste your money. I'm just here. If you want to listen, you're more than welcome. If you don't, you can move along, right? It's the Bob Ross philosophy of just being kind and just doing your passion. This is really my passion. I love doing this. It's not about the money. Like I don't make much of anything. I have John and Alan are always very generous with donations and things like that. And that will at work, I'll get a cup of coffee or get myself a good sandwich for John. Thank you, John, for tomorrow, something like that. Like just like nice things, like little appreciations. Yeah. Hope you're doing well as well, my friend. Hope you're wealthy. Hope you're wealthy and healthy. That's a good way to start the conversation on that. What was I talking about? PLTR. I think I covered everything on PLTR. I think I covered that on that. Another thing I wanted to look at, there was something. Oh, Berkshire. So we were looking at the S&P 500 XLI or XL something. I forget the constricted ETF, but it's basically the industrials, right? And I think Berkshire, everyone knows, of course, Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger company. They got their fingers in every single cookie jar. So looking at this one in particular, we're just seeing it really kind of level off here on some previous level of support here. So again, if we zoom out, so get ready, it's going to be eye-shocking. Boom, right? This thing just during the low of the pandemic got down to $1.60. Now we're looking at 300, right? Like this is insane, right? I'm not saying we're going to come crashing down. I just want people to be like, hey, we've come up quite a bit here. We have earnings season starting, so you have to be a little bit more mindful about like, okay, companies actually need to start making profits and start showing that they have the leverage, they have the technology, they have the balance sheet, and that they are the company that deserve that potential premium. I'm not talking about like their PE ratio. That's something I really don't honestly look at too much. But when I see a stock like Berkshire Hathaway, or it's like a company that just makes widgets or whatever, going up like this, they have to start performing, right? Like, of course, the reopening play. This is really what you're seeing here is a reopening. Like you're seeing restaurants opening up. You're seeing our life coming back to normal, and just getting things back to the way it was, and just really starting potentially trying to appreciate life, and the way we thought it was. But at the same hint, where it's not going to always be where it was, because things have changed, things have been engraved in our brain, so this has slightly changed the way we look at things. Thank you, Alan. Yes, I do love my stocks, and Blue, I appreciate it as well. I appreciate everyone just coming out and listening and speaking to me talk. Alpaco, what's up, dude? Thank you for welcoming me back. It's great to be back. I don't know if you noticed. I'm trying to work out this new camera I got. I don't know why my hair keeps on sticking up. I look really white. I did go to Florida, so I did get a tan, but I'm super white on this video, or on this camera feed, for some whatever reasons. Oh, Alpaca, can you see some PLTR I sold the 320 the put I told you earlier? Can you see some PLTR I sold the 31 220 put? I sold it too early. Probably. I'm gonna say you got to be very careful, Alpaca. When you're selling something so far out, the timing is very key. You literally, you're buying, like, you're selling like leaps. You have to like get it at, not, you never know when the bottom is in place, but it has to be something pretty drastic here, to really see that kind of price level. Tell me everything is gonna be all right. I'll hold you, Alpaca. Everything's gonna be okay. We're looking for PLTR to maybe potentially bounce off 20. If it doesn't, it could potentially kind of break below where we previously saw. But like what I just talked about, if the overall market just kind of tanks and goes lower, it's going to take PLTR with it. I think you already know that. So again, put your stocks in your plan, put a stop loss, or have at least some kind of understanding of when to get out. Like don't get to the point where like PLTR is at like $10 and you're like, and you bought it at like 20, like, hey, should I get out? That's not the question you should be asking when the stock's back down to 10. That's the question that you should be asking now, putting it into place, writing it down on a piece of paper, programming it into the an execution, whatever trading platform you use, to kind of really isolate any kind of those emotional mistakes that you could be setting in place. And that's really what trading is, honestly, I think about. I wanted to look at a couple more of these stocks that were coming out with earnings this week. I wanted to look at Intel and Snap. So Intel, oh shoot, what is Intel? INTC? No. INTC. Is it INTC, right? Yeah, I was right. Haha. Yeah, Intel, very choppy, right? It has not been, this is something that has just not been fun. It's been out, it's been really been left in the dust in some part of Apple switching out of and making their new M1 processor within the MacBook Airs and some of the other models, and especially in the iPad as well. But I think once Apple starts coming out with like the M2 or the M2X Pro to infinity and beyond, I think that could be a little bit more painful for Intel. At the same note, it's been very drastic. They have a newer CEO, new staff kind of coming in here, kind of trying to put the bleeding to a stop here, with at the same time having a global pandemic and a chip shortage. It has not been fun for the company to be kind of going through this. Because again, if we're looking here at the weekly chart, look how choppy this thing is. This is something you have to have some really cojones to hold here, because it's just been grinding up, bouncing up, going down, going lower, blah, blah, blah. Like, with earnings coming out on Thursday, maybe we can get some floor support, maybe some positive news. If they don't and earnings misses, we can easily see it start breaking back below 53, and maybe making its way back down to 49 to 50, right? Who knows? Like, we don't know how the earnings are going to transpire or what's going to potentially kind of create a catalyst to the up or downside there. I think that it's definitely, if we're looking at the semiconductors, which is SMU, if I'm right. No. Oh, shoot. No, it's SSOXX. Yeah, semiconductors thing. So SOXX is an ETF for the semiconductors. And it's been very choppy here. It's still kind of making its way to the top side, and just continuously kind of consolidating a little bit. It's not seeing these crazy moves that we saw in the past, but it's still kind of just slightly moving to a positive movement. But in the last 3 days, it's kind of come down quite a bit here. It's basically jumped from 455 to basically 425. So dropped nearly $30 here in about 3 days. Pretty drastic, right? Previously, it's found some support here around the 55 EMA. It has clearly broken past that. If so, we see the continuously, especially this week, start breaking and continues going lower, we could find some support around 420 to around that $410 range to maybe see if we can kind of get some stopping of the bleeding there. Johnny All Cash, what's up, my friend? Sorry I'm late. Don't worry, my friend. You're always welcome. Can you do CLOV? Chelsea Clinton is too connected to this to fail. What? What? Is that a joke? What's Chelsea Clinton doing with Clover? Am I out of the loop? You gotta explain that to me, Johnny. What's she investing? Yeah, I got nothing. I got not too much to say about Clover. The only thing is that I don't like when I see these crazy parabolic moves like this. It's something that it kind of puts me on like hesitation mode and a little bit like afraid mode, because of the understanding of there's a lot of weak hands. The weak hands have clearly gone out of it, because you're just seeing this continuously selling here. Could you find a bottom here? She's on the board of directors. Chelsea Clinton is on the board of directors for Clover. Did she? Well, did she go to medical school, or did she get a PhD? Did she get just a graduate degree? I can't remember what she did. Yeah, it can't go tits up, right, Johnny? By going tits up here, basically, that $8 range is going to be that short-term level support here, honestly, Johnny. If we start breaking below that $7 range is something that we're going to be looking for, that level of support here. But how many shares does she own? She could be a board member, but she doesn't have to own that many shares. So, right? I did not. Is that something new? How did I not? That's interesting. I learn something new every day. And thank you, Johnny, for your ongoing support. R2D2. Hey, Ken, I've been out for a while. Nice to see you back. What do you think about SNAO? Oh, Snap. Okay, yeah. So Snap also has earnings on Thursday. Again, I don't use these products, so I can't directly say about these things. But the one thing I do notice is the crazy amount of TikTok shorts that I see on YouTube. Like, how is YouTube not trying to transition into going to making these shorts? Because they're smart people, I think, but they're just like super slow to innovate on it. But TikTok's really eating their lunch on that. Snap, I've never used this probably in my life, honestly. Um, but it has gained a lot of market share, like we saw late last year, where it has been just been a rocket ship, right? Like people were advertising on it. It kind of was like it finally became cool. They fixed a lot of their problems, and it just started performing better, right? Looking here on the weekly side with earnings coming out, I kind of like it here still. Like if we do see a sell off here or support levels in the short term, we'd be looking for around $55 here, because you can see here on the 34 EMA here on the weekly side, you're seeing, I can't draw circles here. What the hell? I'm not having a stroke, ladies and gentlemen. I just can't draw. So you're basically seeing it here, here, potentially if we do see a pullback for whatever reasons. You never know, right? Like with earnings, it's a complete coin flip. We have no idea what potentially could happen here. Or we can just see the market just take it lower for whatever reasons, because it could be in a lot of different indexes. But I do kind of like it. I want to see the understanding potentially to the positive side. I really like it. I don't put it in the same category like Facebook. It's not like people are writing paragraphs about stuff and so forth. But this is definitely something to look for, and especially with Facebook. You got of course, you have Facebook, you have Snap, of course, Instagram is part of Facebook, kind of in that same group. These are these insanely fast growing things. Of course, last but not least, you got Pinterest, right? Like Pinterest in the same categories had this crazy growth last year, and now it's kind of coming into consolidation mode. Potentially, you can see on how things are moving from that standpoint as well. WM Team, CLX, XCliff, XLU, must watch. Yes. I love, you say WMT, that's my Walmart position. This thing has just been great. I just sell premium on this. I do it pretty heavily because I just know the stock pretty well. That 55 EMA, I've just been continuously selling it here. Walmart potentially trying to break out here, that 142 range. So again, we're looking at a weekly chart. Let me just kind of zoom in here for a daily chart here. So that 142, I don't know if my alert must have gone off multiple times. I got to reposition all my alerts here. So Walmart, I like it here. I think it's not just a reopen play. It's just a company that's going to be just doing better and better and just innovating on itself. Alan says, on your camera, may want to check your white balance next time you set it up. Side note, I bought my first Mac Air a few weeks ago because of my M1 chip, and I'm loving it. Did you get 8 gigs or 16 gigs in the MacBook Air? And what kind of things do you do on it? Actually, I should probably not ask that. Just joke with you, Alan. Mike says, can you please look at 5.9? Zoom is buying them for really they're buying 5.9, really good for them. That's smart, right? The Zoom's made a lot of money over the pandemic. Yeah, this is, I don't know, what price are they giving it? Oh, you got 16 gigs? Perfect. And that runs everything pretty well. Great. Oh, Lightroom. You do Lightroom. Nice. Awesome. But Lightroom's, yeah, that's, 5.9. I don't know what price they're trying to buy it for, but the stock, again, we're finding some consolidation around the 170 range. But with Zoom, which is ticker symbol ZM, of course, this has been, we got to zoom out on this one as well, no pun intended. It's been fantastic during the pandemic, right? Absolutely insane. Looking for this one, potentially. I know Kathy Wood has been buying this still. I think I still get the emails buying at this around range. Potentially, we're going to be looking for that 450 is really its key level. If it does break out for the year, that's going to be its key level there to see this, if that does have any kind of potential to kind of break out at that range. Johnny, we have not done Apple yet, but Apple has been a position that I was holding during vacation mode, and it was going gangbusters. I'm so glad. Like, we talked about these two levels of support here. So we talked about these. Basically, this was a support level 1, and this was support level 2, and it came back down to that 144 EMA. Not to the T. It was kind of breaking, a little choppy here. We're in the kitchen. It gets a little messy. Nothing's perfect in the kitchen, right? So you have to be being mindful about that. You might get some onions in your face or whatever. It might burn your finger a little bit, but as long as you know what you're doing and you have a stop loss in place, it's fine, right? Don't cut your fingers off. Anyways, so looking at 144 EMA, held very well. Sold some pretty at the money puts on this one, and of course I own the stock in the long term position. But this is insane, seeing this movement higher here again. Apple does not care. They're making those M1 chips with no problem. Oh, they're buying for 19. But what's the price per share at? That's what I just didn't know. For 5.9. Usually I understand it's like 14.7, but I don't know. I'm not gonna do the math of how many outstanding shares and how much they have to purchase and da da da. Like, do they say like what the ticker price is gonna be if they purchase it at 14.7 billion? Yeah. So Apple, all-time high of last week. Again, this is a tech stock, right? Consumer-focused tech stock. Most people, I believe, probably in the chat here or watching, have an iPhone, have an iPad, have a MacBook Air, desktop, whatever, listening on this device using their AirPods, whatever. Fantastic products. A lot of people love them. Some people hate them. A little bit, very drastic moves higher here, right? It's been holding that 8 EMA here on the daily chart here. Always a little bit hesitant when you start seeing this kind of pattern kind of come through here. This could be an earnings run. So we have earnings coming out the 27th, which is, I believe, a Tuesday of next week. So about a week out, we can see on how that, if that does hold. It is a week out, probably. Yeah. So literally from the earnings to this next expiration is looking for basically an $8 move. So if everything goes gangbusters, that 160 range could be something that we could be looking for. This is something that we could be looking for there as well. But some short-term support is going to be coming in around 145, and a little bit stronger support is going to be coming in around 137 to 140. Russell says BB. Or you want Bed Bath & Beyond? Oh. Yeah, this one, like, so what's your like position or your ideal looking at this? If you're looking at this the daily chart or the weekly chart, this could be potentially like a turnaround story or like a recovery. We're seeing here on the weekly side, again, we're looking at the weekly side, it has come down to that 34 EMA a couple times here. So we could see it kind of come back to that like $25 to $24 range here and potentially maybe rebound here. If it doesn't, that can kind of continue to sink lower here and start breaking below that 23 and start making its way back down to 20 here potentially. But if you really understand the business and it reopens and they start selling some great things, I want to see some potential higher movements, because again, this has been somewhat of a meme like stock that people have just been buying just because they want to piss off and just not piss off, but take advantage of the idiotic hedge fund managers who are just think they can just short anything and just willy-nilly and collect their little bit of a couple bips here and there. But definitely with Bed Bath & Beyond, I kind of like this pattern, honestly. I actually really like this. I like this as a play of just like giving them the middle finger here again. And if it does reopen pretty well, BBBY. I like that one. But BlackBerry, that's a different note. That's they got great tech. Hear them a lot. They're coming down. This is a little bit more drastic here. This is just like a continuously selling here, and it's not really kind of the 8 EMA is really kind of dragging it lower here. Potentially in the short term, some support here around 10, but some stronger support around that $9 range if we do see it come in around that range. Johnny says, were German car manufacturers stock affected by flooding going over there? Real bad flooding. Yeah. Excuse me. Got a couple more stocks than what I'm going to call it tonight. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of flooding within the Europe, especially in Germany. I'm not sure on how that has affected their chips. I don't think they actually produce the most of their chips as well. I think most of it outsources it as well. But also Germany is a little bit further behind on like the reopening play, so I don't really know on how much they're affected by it. And I honestly don't follow the German market as I should like that. S&P is committing down. What do you think about possibly another couple percent tomorrow? Yeah, we can look at that real fast. So I don't really trade on a day-to-day basis handle. I think you know that. But we talked about this towards the beginning. I think we can easily see if we look at the trend as your friend, not saying that history always repeats, but history does rhyme. So we can see some more consolidation coming through. I think in the short term, the markets are kind of looking at some chop or some downward movement as of right now. So if we can start breaking below we're looking at SPY right now. If we start breaking below 430, I think we can easily maybe touch, even go to 426 to 425. And then if that really kind of comes through at that level, from the top to that 34 EMA there handle, which is around 3.8 to 4% drop, that's meaningful, but not that meaningful. More of a drop would be, of course, going back down to 422 to 420, and that's going to be pretty significant. That's going to be breaking into that 5% range, and that's usually what catches a lot of people's attention, and that's usually what I'm going to be looking for within the S&P 500 if we do get into that range. Because historically speaking, if we go to the weekly chart here, this is insane, right? This has been absolutely insane here. On this rocket ship higher here. I'm not saying we're going to get any kind of crashes like the pandemic here, but some kind of pullback at least is healthy. Like seeing this just continue going up here is very like a roller coaster. You're just like continuously going higher and higher and higher. But imagine you're blinded of when that drop's going to happen. Like we know a drop's going to come or some kind of pullback. We just don't know when, right? So it's always just kind of be cautious and play your cards right. So especially when I'm seeing things like this, I'm not fully invested in the trading platform, in my trading account fully. Like I'm only like 50 to 60% in, even less than that, depending on, because I just got off vacation, so I have a lot of cash that I need to redeploy potentially. I wanted to get into Photoshop so that the Mac Air has seemed like the best bang for the buck in my eyes, and I wanted to start. Yeah. Hey, I love the MacBook Air Pro. The MacBook Airs, they're great computers. Vlad, what's up? Good evening to you as well. This will be a most exciting earnings seasons, I think. Yes, it's going to be very exciting. Can you please look at Crocs footwear? Yep, I love me some Crocs. I don't own a pair, but this is one of the better stocks that I've accidentally purchased in my stock portfolio, and it's just been going gangbusters. Like we bought it around $80 by accident, and it's just been fantastic. This, I believe, is very much like a reopening play as well, especially with people going out the beach, just relax wear. Of course, a lot of people probably got Crocs when they're at home. This is a great looking stock. Again, with earnings is very much a coin flip, but does have some initial support coming through. We talked about this. Last earnings was huge gap up. The earnings before that was like meh. Same with the last couple earnings there as well. So I think the Crocs, of course, being that opened hold and opened back end, I think it's very much like a trend for the summertime. Again, I'm not a fashion person, so I don't know what I'm speaking about in the fashion sense. But they're making pretty interesting plays that I see with like brand integration. They have the KFC thing. They have some other music folks getting into it, and other like it's pretty phenomenal how they're able to do it. Of course, it has pulled back with the overall market. Of course, we'll see on how this one does kind of come through, but I'm hoping in the short term at least stays above that 106 to 107 range to potentially kind of hold some level of support there. I like those quick volatility moves for fun form time to time. Yeah, I'm not the kind of guy that will buy like VIX calls and kind of hope and pray for something like that. I just kind of look at it of like, okay, I need to be mindful of my shorter term plays. Like, hey, we've come up quite a bit here. I need to take some cash on hand, and I kind of mindfully do it like in that way. I'm not going to be just trying to short the market because I'm just terrible at it. TD, welcome back. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Hope all is well. 5.9 shares valued at $200 per share. Really? Wow. Anything M chip is faster enough. Oh. Flip flops get funky. I can't imagine how bad Crocs would get. I don't know. I don't own a pair of Crocs, so I should get a pair. I think I deserve myself a pair on the money I made on that one. Yeah, Vlad, that's a very good point. Like we talked about, we're just looking at the SP 500. Like we talked about, like just over just the beginning of the year, we're up quite a bit here. We're up a lot. Like usually, historically speaking, I was trying to find this before we started, but I need to reorganize a lot of my web links again, my URL pages. I had a great little here. So here's like the Warren Buffett indicator. Let me pull that up here real fast. One second. So this is like the Warren Buffett indicator. Basically, it's just the Buffett indicator, which is aka value over the historical trend since 1990. So the last bubble we broke at that 2 deviation point. This is something that you need to be careful about. But now this is updated on the 15th, so this was just updated on Friday. The ratio is at 234% of market value to GDP. That's 88% higher of the long-term trend line. So basically, that is something they're just basically saying, like, this is insane on what we're seeing at these levels here. Not just saying the price, the PE ratios are out of a whack. It's just that the ratio to GDP, which is kind of how they look at really growth in the market. So if our GDP doesn't come through this year, meaning our gross domestic product that we make as a whole country, this thing could really cause a lot of damage once we start seeing some things coming through. Because again, everyone in the market is looking for some kind of yield. They're just looking for some delta to kind of gain on a lot of things. Russell's asking for Coin and AAL. Yeah, Coin. Sadly, Coinbase, same kind of thing. It's a little too early for me to buy into these stocks. I like to kind of see like 2, 3, 4 quarters kind of come through and kind of create some kind of baseline. There could be some weak hands still in there as well, and some investors who want to be getting out on their next what do they call it? Not investor day. Oh my gosh, I've been so long out of this game. Oh my gosh, when people are able to sell, what's that word called? You know what I'm talking about. And the AAL. So I'm actually playing the airlines because when I went traveling, it was insane. The airports were packed, car rentals were packed. It was insane. AAL, of course, American Airlines group, kind of coming in here. We're seeing some very negative downward pressure again. This is potentially likely due to the fear of another lockdown coming, more travel restrictions, whatever. I kind of like it here around $19 to $20. If it doesn't hold here, this can easily break lower here and get back to $18 to even $17 if it doesn't hold at those levels. I'm a little hesitant about it. It's a little bit more risky. I like to play potentially playing it with Jets. So Jets is something, again, it's an ETF that trades all the airlines as well there. SoFi, please. How low is it going to go? I know. SoFi is something that has been, it's a long-term hold. I think it potentially is trying to find a bottom here around 15. If it can hold some levels here around $15, I think we'll be doing okay here. But like we said with multiple stocks here, if we continuously see the marking kind of creeping lower here, it's definitely going to take SoFi with it. And we're going to have to kind of wait and see on how this one plays out. But I have a pretty long-term time horizon on this one, so it can go back down to $12 to $10, and it'll be just fine. But speaking on the chart here, it's just trending lower here. I feel your pain. I remember it's nice to see your stock up fairly high here, but coming back down to these levels here is somewhat normal. But we'll see if that can kind of create a strong base there to kind of stop the bleeding. Kelly D, Ken, you can go get some fake Crocs at Walmart. Oh, really? They make fake. I'm sure they make fake Crocs, right? Roland One, what's up, dude? Fire sale, yes, for sure, for sure. Ladies, gentlemen, thank you so very much for coming out again. I really had a lot of fun, and thank you everyone for came out for the support. John and Alan. Alan, thank you again for another $5. Here's a question: if you owned AMC, what prices would you be looking at selling some puts or calls, then have to pace out Rick and Morty starting soon? Let's see here. AMC, yes, AMC. So this is a difficult one, Alan, because it's a stock that went parabolic. So it basically it doesn't define the laws of normal physics of the trend. You can clearly see there's a pretty significant line up here at $57.49 that has not really been able to get past. So that's got to keep that in motion. We see some gap ups here. So we have this gap up here. We have a small, tiny gap up here. So those are potentially ways, something that we could see it fill. Like so, it has already kind of come through here and filled it. You can kind of see it. That's where it kind of got that bounce. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Thank you. So that usually with this huge gaps up, if it comes back down and fills the gap and holds it, that seems pretty strong here. So that can kind of potentially, that 37 to like 34 is going to be that level to potentially see it hold. So that was that gap. That's going to be something in the short term to hold. But going back to my first statement of like it being a black hole of mystery, with these huge short squeezes like this, could it easily come back lower? Sure, why not? That next level of support will be coming around $30 to $28. So I don't know how much you're willing to risk there. Thank you, Alan. Bless you as well. Seeing it kind of come to those levels, it's, for me, you're much more of a risk taker than I am. I would be very hesitant to sell anything in this, but because if I remember right, these options are like crazy insane here. Like, okay, I thought they're worse. Like the spreads are not too far across. Okay, that's not too bad. I thought the spreads were worse, so I was a little bit more hesitant. Um, I can't remember. If you have stock in it, it's probably better to potentially sell some calls against it instead of puts, unless you want to add more stock to your position. Like, yes, if you bought the stock, I think you bought it at a fairly decent price, below 10, right? You bought it at like $5 or $6. Um, I wish I held mine. If I was in there with you buying this stuff, but not at those levels, like insane. Um, yeah, I think I bought it around, where was it? Maybe I don't remember. Anyways, the opportunities that I missed on that one. Um, what was I saying? Oh, the spreads aren't too bad. So if you know what covered calls are, if you have 100 shares of stock, you can sell one call against it. So does it have earnings coming out anytime soon? Again, it's in a weird space. Sub 3. There you go. See, give everyone in the chat, give Alan a round of applause for having the cojones to hold AMC stock at $3. Yeah, so you have a couple hundred shares. You can easily sell even the $60 call for like $2.75 to $3 here, and kind of looking at that percentage. Because again, can it go up to $50 again? Sure, why not? But again, it really kind of comes down if you want to hold it, or you just want to make. If you try to make as much money as possible, it's going to be very difficult to calculate that because again, we're talking about the black hole, the systematic black hole that we're talking about here, because we just don't know what's going to happen, right? Like that's with anything. My gut instinct is telling me that it's not over, but we could potentially get another boost higher here once we get some level of support here. Initially speaking, that first level support could be around that $57 range, but yeah. Yeah, just selling a few. Like, if you have hundreds of shares of this, you can just sell half of it and let the rest run, right? You don't have to commit everything to selling those calls. So, hopefully, this was helpful, everyone. I thank you, everyone. AMC was all option games movement and then flipping on Gamma, who's going to support prices. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who's gonna. It's those Gamma squeezes. You don't know, like, if it's gonna, most likely if it's a Gamma squeeze, of course, it's gonna go higher in that sense. But if the stock falls out because the company is trying to sell X amount of shares at this price and it can't support it, it can be very much like a downturn. And that's not a fun scenario. But anyways, on that note, I'm mumbling my words. I'm gonna go get some beauty rest. And to thank you guys, ladies and gentlemen, Alan, John, thank you for the wonderful donations. And again, everyone, I will catch you very soon. Some videos will be coming out this week, I promise. Vacation mode is over for Ken, and we'll get back to the market and have some great deal of fun. All right, guys, ladies, have a great evening. Have a fun trading week. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.